Hello everyone, welcome to My Immigration Story. I'm your host, Sujata Ramteke. This is an ongoing series where we bring to you inspirational stories of the immigrants to the US, and we hope to bring out the topics of challenges faced by the immigrants in the US. And today we have with us our guest, Yoshie Nakayama.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Yoshie, tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, okay. And when did you come to US? What year?
10 years ago.
10 years ago?
2013, September, yes.
Oh, that's a long time. When you came to United States for the first time, what was your first visa status?
He was a student to enter Berkeley College of Music.
Oh, okay. And you studied music here?
Yes.
And what is your current status now? And were there any challenges you faced moving from your student visa to your current status?
Sure. So currently, I teach at Berkeley College of Music at the department where I majored in. And I have an artist visa for the second time now. And I think the hardest part of for getting artist visa from student visa was to get the deals, because I'm freelancer and I'm not employed just one big employer that would secure me visa. So I had to do everything my own. So I had to book gigs to prove to the US that I'm worthy staying. And so, I had to do lots of asking around for, and it's not just asking, it's gonna be, I'm asking for them to write a letter or sign the deal memo to prove I'm like extraordinary, because that's the name of the official name of the artist visa. It's a visa for extraordinary talented art aliens. Oh, okay. So I had to prove I'm extraordinary by getting articles published or signing gigs that pay me more than normal prices, things like that. So that's not the comfortable asks to make. So, yeah.
So when you move from your one visa to another, and all the challenges that you have been facing in this, do you think was there like improvement now, or were they still the same when you came like 10 years back?
Do you mean from my perspective?
Yeah,
like,
has that improved? Because you must have like graduated in like 4 years, and then might have to go through a lot to kind of book the gigs and do whatever it takes to kind of maintain the visa status. Over the years, has it like improved in last 10 years that you have been here?
Sure. So first 2 visas after student, the first artist visa application was not easy, and so I got help, and now that I renewed artist visa, and I feel more confident because I know how it goes. I know what to expect. So it's in a way because I know what to expect, it's easier. And definitely after getting to teach at Berkeley 2 years ago, that gives me some sort of some sense of security because it's a well-known institution, and it gives me weekly schedule that I can write in the application. Yeah. So yeah, it's been, I think it's easier. I feel easier for that part, but still I have to secure a visa on my own. So yeah, it's never secure. I never feel safe in a way.
Yeah.
Until I get green card someday.
Yeah. When you decided to learn music, when you were in Japan, Was America always the first choice, or I would ask, like, why did you choose America to kind of, study and then make your living here? Decided to stay here and make a life. What was the reason you picked America?
Yeah, so I never really chose music. It's I happened to born into a family who's so my mom is a music teacher, a home music teacher growing up, and then she's also music director of the church that we go to. Whenever I'm in Tokyo, we go to church, and so I grew up going to the church every Sunday, singing some hymn song, and also sitting next to my mom, teaching music to the church members or teaching music at home. So I was just surrounded by music growing up. And I started learning piano from my mom. And then I decided to go to a high school that belongs to music college that I ended up going in Tokyo. And so I went to the high school and then taking private piano lessons, singing lessons, not from my mom at that point, from high school. And then I went to study music education at the college in Tokyo. And then after, so I never really thought about studying abroad or living abroad. I just had this sense of, sense of admiration in a Western country. Because my grandma lived in Canada and some, I think also US, yeah. And then my mom also studied in US. So I had the idea of, just visiting somewhere English speaking country, but I never dreamed of studying or living there.
But you never visited America before your college, right? You have just heard about America, but never visited here.
Right, just one time, 2003, to attend our close family members' wedding ceremony in Orlando, Florida. That was maybe 5 days or something. And then I just returned. And then, so after the first college in Tokyo, after 10 years graduation from the first college in Tokyo, I didn't do anything to do with music as my profession. And then I wanted to study music to change my career into music. And what I learned at the first college is all about classical music and teaching music. But that was not what I wanted at the time. But I wanted to do music as a profession, and I thought about, okay, so what do I need to do? And then, long story short, I ended up applying for Berkeley, and then got accepted, and then that led me to move to Boston in the first place. And at that point, I never planned to stay here. I didn't mean to move permanently, and and then as I stayed at Berkeley, and Boston is such a beautiful city, and I was very comfortable with the culture of this country, or at least Boston, and how people respect freedom and all decisions of each other. They respect differences, and so that's what I liked, and I feel comfortable being myself. And I just like Boston and Berkeley community. And so I ended up, applying for visas, and then here I am 10 years later, still in Boston.
So now you have decided, like, you want to be here, the culture is open, people are quite open, you get to be yourself. Like, yeah, I agree with you. Being an immigrant, coming from a different country, especially when your cultural values get a bit restrictive in a way, and when you want to excel and go into a more challenging world and kind of explore more things for yourself. And I feel United States like provides quite a good platform without any discrimination or partiality between a man and a woman. I think that is one thing that even I would say that kind of promoted me to come from from India as well. So yeah, I totally echo that thought. So from Japan, when you got here to US, there must be like a lot of challenges and navigating around. First one being the language barrier. There are a lot of especially when we think about East Asian countries. I'm from Southeast Asia, so we have a very ingrained culture and traditional values, and sometimes as I said, it gets restrictive, but there are some things that you kind of feel like yourself. But when you come to United States, you kind of you feel like it's a different country than for considering the language barrier. What were your cultural shocks when you got here?
Yeah, so my first 3 years was I spent my first 3 years in the US as a student at Berkeley. So my cultural shock, the majority of them were culture in school. So for example, in Japan, if you wanted to speak up during a class, then I had to raise my hand, then wait for my teacher to point at me and then let me speak. Or if I'm in a class, I'm not supposed to eat or drink anything. I just have to be there sitting quietly and then just listen to what teachers say. And so when I got here at Berkeley, everyone was just eating, drinking. This is of course before COVID era.
Yeah.
So that was surprising. And then I was very surprised that I think this is a Berkeley thing, that the teachers are happy. Many of the teachers are happy to be called with the first name. Like if now that I'm a teacher, I asked my students to call me Yoshie, and then I don't ask them to call me professor or miss or ma'am. I mean, some students still do, but so that was also shocking to me. Like people call each other, students call teacher by first name or nickname. So that's very that was shocking too. Or like whenever they wanted to speak up, it's more like a discussion, more like there's conversation, not the one way but two-way class. So right. Those are very happy surprise. And to me, of course, language barrier was definitely there. And I growing up with my mom and grandma being able to speak English, I did have some sorts of good hearing, but I didn't have to speak in English in Japan. So that was, of course, there was some barrier. And when it comes to music terms, then I definitely had some challenging times, especially first two semesters. I had some learning. And in Japan, we don't have differences in between R and L's, B and V's, and things like that. So those are still to this day, I still struggle. And then now I catch myself doing wrong. So that's still, I guess it never ends. I have to keep learning, keep improving myself.
Anything when like you travel in US, anything you come across that you feel that was not there in Japan, but like the things that you miss in Japan, you were used to, but now you miss in US. Do you have any of those? Like I know transport is amazing in Japan. Like you hear about it all the time. People are very punctual. Trains don't get delayed. So, what things do you miss that you used to enjoy in Japan but not in US?
Yeah, so the first thing, I'm a foodie. So first thing when you said that come up to me is food. So and then we don't have tipping culture in Japan, so that's also something, you know, it's good and bad, I think, because yeah, that's in Japan, customer service is very top level, and they don't get paid for tips. They don't expect to receive tips. And if you know, if some tourists don't know about tipping culture, not existed in Japan,
Yeah.
and so some people try to tip Japanese workers, and then they'll be confused, like they're like, oh no, please not. And if they are forced to pay, then I think they would most likely report that to their boss or something, because they don't know how to handle the cash they receive.
Right.
So
yeah,
something like that. And I miss my family. My parents, my grandma, they're getting old, so older. So yeah, I miss them. I wish them well. And but definitely national health insurance system. That's big. Health insurance in this country is very confusing to me.
Yeah.
And yes,
I think
and
it's confusing for everyone, even from people from here. I think it's confusing.
That's why it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really work for the citizens, and I guess I'm happy I have the coverage, but you know, it's yeah, that's something I miss. I wish we have national insurance in this country, health insurance.
Any, do you see any any taboos that you had in Japan? There are social issues that you thought are quite outrageous in Japan, but kind of when you come here, you feel that it's mellowed down or they don't exist here. Any such like social issues or taboos that you have experienced in Japan, but not in US?
Sure, in Japan, the hierarchy in the society or in any workplaces are mainly by the age or how many years you work in the workplaces. Mm-hmm. So I think the years of experiences are mostly definitely respected in here too. But in Japan, maybe it's the language culture that we have. In Japan, we have the casual level of language, mm-hmm. and then respective way, and then most respective way, and then being humble language. Like there's, to me, it's like four different levels of speaking to each other.
Right.
So if you are talking to elderly in your workplace, then you have to speak in like a level 3. And if you are talking to your customer, you talk level 4, for example.
Yeah, so, I understand that, and I can relate it to it because in India we have like 3 levels that you talk like very older people than you, then people of the same age, and then younger people. So I can totally relate, and how it gets confusing when you come here when you say everybody, it's you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's nice in a way to be respectful, mindful about that to each other, but at the same time I like that this in this country everyone's pretty much like if you work hard you can get it. That's why people call it American dreams, so that's, I think both culture have good side and not too good side about it, but I like the equality that's given to everyone. Sure, there's some some situations that are not fair or that are not equal sometimes, but speaking just in general, I think this country has more opportunities that are equally given. If you work for it, you can get it. I think that's why this country is a bunch of immigrants.
Yeah, when you mentioned the American dream, I do want to ask you, did you ever had like when you decided to come to America, like that's your American dream, and do you think you have achieved your American dream?
Yeah, I mean when I came to Boston 10 years ago, all I had planned was to study at Berkeley. I didn't even know I could graduate. And then I achieved graduation. And I don't really plan too much of years ahead, to be honest. So things happened. I got lucky, or I worked for it. And I'm grateful for what I achieved. And I have no regrets. I think everything happens for a reason. And I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the future, in the upcoming years, or in the long term. So in that sense, I don't really feel like I've achieved my dreams. But at the same time,
Just yet. You haven't achieved just yet.
The fact that I'm teaching at the college that are dreams for so many thousands and maybe millions of people, that's like, am I dreaming? It's kind of, to me, it's a full circle moment. It's been 10 years coming to this country. I started as a student at the college, and now I'm teaching at the college. So in a way, but again, I never dreamed of teaching at Berkeley. So yeah.
I think you're there, right? The American dream. I mean, teaching at Berkeley is huge, I would say.
Yeah,
and I like your perspective on, how you talked about just letting it, flow and see where life takes you. I kind of like that perspective on whole, like your American dream.
Yeah.
Tell me about the global initiative songs for world peace that you have founded.
Sure. It's called Songs for World Peace. So this is a initiative that I founded 3 years ago, 2020, with my two other Berkeley graduates. Mm-hmm. And one of them had this idea for years. And then she even had a domain saved, and she had all this name and all the plans already. And she never had the chance to make it happen until everyone stayed at home, locked down. And so then she reached out to me and the other co-founder, Utako Toyama, and we founded the initiative. But what we do is to ask artists around the world to write a song about world peace in their native language, and they record it, and then we receive their songs. And then every year, September 21st, that's an International Day of Peace by the UN. And then we release songs of the year, songs that we received for the year by our artists on our YouTube website. And then we also hold an event, a live streaming event on through Facebook, and then it's uploaded on Facebook afterwards. And we also discuss about peace through musicians' perspective with some guest speakers from organizations like Musicians Without Borders. In the past years, we also have had guests from UN and Women San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And so we are trying to book guest speakers for, this is a new event since 2020. So this year's September 21st, we are also we are trying to have that with some guest speakers and some artists who are releasing songs for this year. So we're organizing that.
So it's like a physical event, right? Where the artist used to...
Online.
Oh, online. So they get to present their song. That's very interesting. That's really very interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Any last thoughts for our audience, or any immigrants who are watching this show?
Yeah. So I came to Boston after over 30 years old. I entered Berklee College of Music over 30 years old, and to me, I also had a same classmate coming from Japan the same year. I don't know her exact age, but I think she was over 40 years old at that time. So it's never too late. It's never too late to do what you've been dreaming of, to do something you've been wanting to try. And the decision I made to come to Berklee is based on someone I looked up to, Yumiko Matsuoka, who's a ear training teacher at Berklee College of Music, also from Japan. When I was indecisive about what to do, after 10 years graduation from my first college in Tokyo, she said, just make a decision that you won't regret after 10 years. So now that's my kind of, anytime I have to make a difficult decision, that's here. I'm deciding things based on that. Do I regret if I don't do this? Do I regret if I, so that's, make a decision that you won't regret in the future.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That last thought is really, really resonates with me. It's amazing that, people like you come to US and make a life of their own. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching my immigration story. You can watch this show on our websites, local channels, fcatv.org. I'm your host, Sujata Ramteke. See you next time.